Cage season 1 episode 2. And I'm sad now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what they didn't need to kill Pops.
R.I.P. Pops.
Especially not in episode 2. I thought he was going to be like a Foggy. Like I thought he was going to be around for the whole season, for 5 seasons in the future.
Yeah, I thought he was going to be the wise advisor, the Yoda to...
Like the heart. Yeah.
Yeah. Because they developed his story, told his background, and it's kind of a parallel to some of Luke Cage's background, street tough, doing some crimes, gets busted, goes to prison, comes out a different man.
Mm-hmm.
So there was this parallel there, and so you're feeling, all right, father figure thing for Luke Cage. He made the barber shop to help the youth of his neighborhood, and and he's urging Luke Cage to be that force for good in Harlem, and so then they go and kill him.
Yeah. And really, to me, that almost... I guess if we're talking about from a show standpoint, they did a great job because he's only was in an episode and a half.
Mm-hmm.
And I really loved him. I thought he was a great character, and I really don't like the fact that they already... Like, it feels like that's... Like, normally I feel like that'd be like a... end of the show type of a thing, and instead it's this call to action, and I don't know, I don't like it. I mean, as from a story perspective, it's good, and from the writing perspective, it's good. It's just, I just didn't want Pops to leave.
Yeah.
But some of the other stuff, Cottonmouth throwing a guy off a building.
Yeah, so Pops dying was kind of like a catalyst for Luke Cage and Cottonmouth, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think we're going to see Luke Cage maybe more becoming that force in Harlem because of this. And Cottonmouth kills, like, as near as we can tell, number 2 guy because of this. And they show that little scene of him crying with the photo of him and Pops back in the day. And so, although obviously they're going to go very different ways, this was like a catalyst in both their storylines, I thought. Which was cool.
Because it feels like it basically took... Like, Cottonmouth was kind of... He was obviously a bad guy and doing bad things, but it felt like he had like a code, and maybe now he's not going to anymore. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like it feels like, like that was like something like from his past that he still kind of like held up. Like Pops was kind of like the heart and the thing that was like he was kind of holding as being like, this is the truth. This is the rules we have to follow. He's dead now.
Yeah.
He's throwing people off buildings. I don't know. Yeah, it just feels like maybe he's going to escalate a lot now.
Yeah. So it seems like they did a little more info dump. They flushed out some characters' background, obviously Pops, and then killed him. But like we confirmed that the detective is Misty Knight, who is a named comic book character. And there was a neat scene kind of in the early part of it where she was kind of doing that Sherlock Holmes Mind Palace kind of thing.
Yeah, that was neat.
Do you think that was just an artistic thing, or you think because she is a genuine Marvel character, they're going to come back around and go, oh, no, she's got, like, aptitudes or abilities or like...
Yeah, I don't know if I didn't read it as, like, superpowers or anything like that, but I just read it as her being, them showing that she's actually a legitimate detective. Mm-hmm. Like, she's, she's not just... Because there really hasn't been police in like, the Daredevil or Jessica Jones. Yeah,
just
like
a bit characters.
And so it's kind of like you haven't really seen that side of it. And I like the fact that it's like they have that, and like the 2 cops, they're competent. Mm-hmm. Like obviously they have different attitudes and they come at things different ways, but they both seem to care and want to like they're actually trying to do good stuff. Mm-hmm. It's neat to see that like as all sides of it, because usually it's bumbling cops or it's everyone's corrupt, and it's cool to see like there's multiple people here who are all trying to make a difference. It's just Luke Cage is the one with the skills to happen in the street.
Yeah, and they fleshed it out because they went to the playground basketball court, and she played horse with a guy to get information, and then she revealed that her name was on the court with a bunch of other people, so she was definitely from the area and from the streets, and so she had cred. So they fleshed her out a little bit. We learned that we were wrong in the first episode. Cottonmouth and Black Mariah are not brother and sister; they're cousins. We were close.
Yeah.
So they solidified that up a little bit. Shades, I think it seems like he's just gonna end up being the number 2 guy in the show. Might be wrong for the villains.
But see, again, though, it's cool in a way because it's like it feels like he has a little bit of a code too, right? Mm-hmm. Like he was like, let's not just go in there guns blazing. Let's wait till the guy comes out. Like it felt like the bad guys aren't psychopaths,
right?
Like like they're not just. I mean, obviously, Cottonmouth got angry through someone off a building, but that was like a heated type thing. It doesn't feel like the bad guys are just like crazy, want to watch the world burn, which I like.
Yeah, well, they like he said, like I think Cottonmouth said, like believe it or not, there are supposed to be rules, and he had a relationship with Pops. He understood Pop's reputation in the neighborhood, and I think Shades was savvy and understood that too. They're more like the businessmen criminals, the Hollywood mafiosa who are a little more by the book and have their own set of rules, and then his underling that he ended up throwing off the building was just the brash, I guess he still resented Luke Cage's thing in the barbershop, making him pay and all that. And he just wanted to impress his boss and give payback.
Mm-hmm. The fact that he actually has 2 machine guns and he sprays them everywhere. But he's showing off. So and they kill him off. So it's like that catalyst is gone now too. So it's just interesting from a writer's story perspective how it all works. It's just like that. I can't remember if it was because we've been watching these so close together. If it was the end of the first episode, the very beginning of this episode, where it starts with Luke Cage looking at the building and the kid pulls out the gun, and then it ends with the same thing, and you get to see a couple more moments of why he's there. Because at first I thought it was just him out,
observing.
Yeah, observing. It's like I just saved the restaurant. Now I'm going to go out, and his call to action was being like a hero and, standing looking over the city type of thing. And it turned out to be, he was investigating it, trying to confirm suspicions type of a thing. And you get to find that at the end of the episode. I think that was neat. And it may be, I guess confusing. I mean, I understood what was happening, but it made you think one thing was happening from that scene at the beginning, and then they play an extra 10 seconds of it, and it gives you a different perspective, which is cool.
Yeah, that was cool. And we did learn a little more about Luke Cage. The guy's got a ton of background. In the first episode, they alluded to prison time. They alluded to, what else? His bartender history, which we know from Daredevil and what have you. He owned a bar. Which wasn't his bar, apparently. But
wasn't that his
somebody else's
sisters or somebody who he got it? Yeah. And then it promptly got blown up.
And then in this episode, we learned that, he's talking to Pops that he told him he was from Chicago, and Pops said called BS on that, and he said, "Well, I'm really from Georgia." And in the comics, there was actually kind of a reboot sort of thing where he was in Chicago instead of New York. So a little bit of a touch on that. But then they alluded to him used to find people. So there's some kind of, private detective or something like that background as well. Mm-hmm. So Luke Cage is a very, very experienced fella.
Yes. There's a lot of professions. Professions, yes. Yeah. So where do you expect next episode to be going then?
Well, what they didn't do in this episode, I thought they might, was bring in more of this Diamondback character. Didn't even mention him this time, although Shade, his minion, is in it. So I'm thinking maybe they started to pull that in. I have a feeling, it could be wrong, that as Cottonmouth gets more strained or having trouble running his organization and getting done what he needs to get done, we're going to start seeing this Diamondback person more involved, so that eventually there's tension there as well, I guess.
Well, they're kind of doing the same thing with Diamondback that they did with Kingpin, right? Like Kingpin wasn't in the first 4 episodes or so of Daredevil. They wouldn't let him say his real name. He's just the Kingpin. And they kind of built up this mystique around him. So when he finally did show up, it was even more impressive. I think it feels like they're kind of doing the same thing. Like he's gonna show up at some point, and he's gonna be a legend by the time he gets there. Yeah. And that's what they're doing really good, even in these first 2 episodes. Is they're doing a great job of fleshing out characters, of making, like I said, like I'm sad Pops died. He's only been probably only had like 15 minutes of screen time,
Yeah.
but he was, this great character that was, I love to see, and I feel like with a lot of the other characters, it's doing the same way. Like I think we're gonna invest in everybody really quick because they're spending the time building it all up. Mm-hmm. This is all kind of, maybe that's the difference I saw between like Jessica Jones and Daredevil and Luke Cage, is that when we start watching Daredevil is fundamentally Daredevil. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's not wearing his goofy costume. He's wearing actually probably a less goofy looking costume, but
he's doing the stuff
he's doing the Daredevil stuff. By the time we see Jessica Jones, it's like she's already done super stuff, and she's kind of like, that screwed me up. I don't want to deal with this anymore, and she's getting called back in. With Luke Cage, up until now, he's basically been like, I don't want to be a superhero, right. And this is kind of like, he's the first one, I guess, we're kind of seeing like his genesis, his like origin kind of. Even though I'm sure, because we've seen some clips of stuff, that they're going to actually show, the actual superhero origin type stuff, giving him his powers and everything, but you really feel like this is his, I keep using the term call to action, this is him becoming Power Man.
Yeah. Which is funny because Pops one time said Power Man in the first episode, so he named him as well, and they killed him.
Okay, I think that's enough for this episode. Check with us again soon. We'll have episode 3 up.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.